The wild bush horses are, and the stock horse snuffs the battle with delight.
Challenge whets the appetite of Australians. It brings together men and women who thrive under difficult conditions. Fleur has grown strong in this environment. Since 1950, Fleur has strengthened Australia's economy, developed its rich energy and natural resources, expanded infrastructure, and helped build a nation. We engineered and built dams, marine ports, roads and railway infrastructure. We established aluminium and steel industries, power and manufacturing plants. Across the rugged outback, we constructed coal, copper, diamond, gold, and iron ore mining operations. Fleur designed and built oil and gas refineries and pipelines, onshore and hundreds of kilometers offshore. Across the project's life cycle, Fleur offers an integrated solution. From design and engineering, procurement and fabrication, construction, commissioning, then operations and maintenance. Fleur is a proven partner. Strong on safety and training, Fleur builds employee expertise and careers. We are proud to strengthen the lives and communities in which we work. Project by project, Fleur has an extensive legacy and investment in Australia's growth. Clients trust Fleur Australia to address their future capital and project requirements. Like regrets Colt, Fleur's out ahead and leading the way.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, David. I didn't mention to you that I tried to join Fleur and you guys wouldn't have me as a young chemical engineer, but I didn't put that in the introduction. David and I go back a long way, but Steve Schwarzman and I have gotten to know each other these last 10 years or so in my CEO job. To say Steve and I have a lot in common is one thing, but he has a lot in common with Australia. In fact, at 5'6", Steve himself describes himself as the little man who found a way to win. Does that sound familiar to Australians? This is the original little American battler, Steve Schwarzman, who, in his vision and his ability to create out of a very, very small private equity firm a titan in the financial industry, $284 billion under assets, 610,000 people employed under the Blackstone portfolio. Steve's way of doing business, unlike some of the private equity firms who started, was always visionary and for the long term. Stephen believed in investing in the future, to take this portfolio of companies and to make them sustainable. Under his leadership, he's built enduring value for his investors, but also the communities in which he operates and the people in which he employs. And you can see that out of his Sydney office, where he in fact operates a portfolio of $3 billion in Australia, from shopping centres to office buildings, from Melbourne to Sydney to the outback. Stephen's firm is unlocking value and, of course, investing in the future. Now, David already mentioned his approach also to philanthropy. Of course, many of you here in this city are aware of his Inner City Scholarship Club and with his $100 million donation to the New York Public Library. He's actually been a philanthropist before it became popular among his genre. And he's taken action in China. The Schwarzman Scholars Program, of which my company is a proud member of, is a game changer. It's building bridges between the United States and China where it matters most, investing in the next generation of young Chinese and young scholars who are looking at everything to make that economy sustainable in today's global, volatile economy. He's a leader, a visionary, a true friend. Steve Schwarzman, please come up and give us your remarks.
Well, thank you, Andrew. I didn't realize I had to give up 2 inches to come to this dinner. It's a tough group here. The ultimate sacrifice. I had something written that said, "Thank you for your kind introduction," but maybe I ought to revisit that one. You know, I really respect Andrew and the amazing job he's done transforming Dow over his tenure there. I've known him quite some time, and we always have a good time together and work on projects, and Dow has been revolutionized under Andrew's leadership. It's a great privilege for me to be honored here this evening by an organization whose truly remarkable work in education supports a relationship that is more important now than at any time, and it supports the kind of things that I like to do. But first, I want to say a few words about David Seaton, with whom I have the privilege of being honored with here tonight. David has accomplished all he has at Fluor with the highest commitment to integrity and sustainability, and that's not easy when 80% of their business is outside the United States. Just last year, Fluor was awarded the Transparency International USA Corporate Leadership Award for its efforts to combat corruption internationally and implementing the elements of a world-class ethical culture. Plus, he's also a donor to the Schwarzman Scholars. And so is Andrew. So congratulations, David, for your work. There are so many things I could say about Australia. I guess I had a girlfriend from Australia for a year and a half. That wasn't in the remarks, but I just thought about it. That was a very good thing about Australia. And by the way, we also have an office in Sydney. And we're now one of the larger owners of commercial real estate. But maybe I should go back to the first subject. Maybe not. But I'll limit myself to praising the recent influx of Australians to New York City. For the first time, New Yorkers know what truly good coffee is. Although the jury the jury is still out on the increasing availability of Vegemite. And of course, we in New York are always grateful to Crocodile Dundee for eliminating crime in the subway. And my stepdaughter just returned from a year of, at least she said she was working on a visa in Australia, in Sydney. So my wife and I got a chance to go there several times to visit her. Australia, of course, remains a major ally of the US and is situated in a region that's becoming increasingly important geopolitically as the world continues to change in dynamic and unpredictable ways. I'll take a moment to introduce you to a program that I've created to address some of those changes and of which ambitious young Australians will be a critical part, assuming I could find somebody in this large room to endow a student or two. Last year, at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing, we announced Schwarzman Scholars, an elite international scholarship program modeled off of the Rhodes Scholarships. Schwarzman Scholars will bring 200 future leaders from the US, China, Australia, and other countries to study for a one-year master's degree taught in English at Tsinghua University in Beijing. While there, they will gain firsthand exposure to China, serving to improve relations between nations in the years ahead. As we've developed this initiative, which has been endorsed by President Xi of China and President Obama in the United States, we've been proud to do so with the advice and guidance of former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd, who serves on our advisory board and actually is a lot of fun. I didn't have the option of voting for Kevin, so I could take a completely neutral position. But he's been a great advisor, fluent Mandarin, has wonderful relationships in China, and actually I rely on him a lot. We're also in the process of raising $350 million for the program's endowment, which will fully fund the studies of each of these Schwarzman scholars and will be the largest charitable gift to China from non-Chinese. We're thankful for the generous support of our donors, which include the Fluor Corporation and Dow Chemical, as I mentioned before, AT&T, Bank America, Boeing Company, and Ernst & Young, and Pete Marwick, all of whom are here today. As we continue into the next portion of the evening, I'd like to share with you a short video we've got done to introduce you to the Schwarzman scholars. They won't be digging like the Fluor people. They won't be pushing dirt, right? They just have to like get a good education. Meet the leaders of the country. Get a mentor, which we'll arrange for them from the real world, so they'll see what China is really like. They'll take trips around the country with professors in the rural areas, as well as just sort of more entertaining places like Shanghai. So it's going to be a really extraordinary program, and I'm going to turn it over to the monitor, but I first would just like to say thank you for honoring Blackstone, for myself, for my colleagues from the firm being here tonight. Australia is really a wonderful place with wonderful people. I know a lot of people there. I look forward to going there. You have a special culture. I was at the Olympics, and you touched us out on the relay with Ian Thorpe. That was a sad moment. It's a sad moment. And one of your former Olympians had a, sort of a two-color face, and the Prime Minister was sitting a few rows in back, and I thought we had that race. But with 17 million people at that time, I never had a better 2 weeks. Wonderful hosts, volunteerism with the whole country mobilizing to make that one of the best Olympics ever had. So you're special people, and you're special in my book. So thank you so much for honoring me this evening.
China's a fascinating, remote place. I think the world is curious about China. This is a country of enormous consequence with a different political system. And this is one of the few ways where not only can you have that exposure, but you can do it in a completely unique fashion.
Most scholarship programs are really credentials. And this program is so much more than that. It is really a catalytic experience. And Steve has worked in a real deep way with people in China to develop every detail of this program.
I was in Beijing when I first heard the idea of the Schwarzman Scholars Program and the Schwarzman College. It's such an exciting prospect to think of a new institution based on Tsinghua campus with the sole purpose of improving mutual understanding between China and the West.
Tsinghua is the best place, is the key for anyone to understand China. And Tsinghua has long been the bridge between China and the other part of the world.
In my opinion, an immersion experience is going to lead to a process of mutual understanding that will only make the world more peaceful, more economically prosperous, and ensure that the next generation that is rising into leadership roles around the world is a generation that has a better understanding of each other than anything that we've seen before.
The ideal global leader is one that is filled with one characteristic, and that's discernment. You need this sensitivity of business savvy, what's right business-wise, to match that cultural fit that has to happen.
The program was conceived a couple of years ago, and in the intervening time, a global group of experts have put in an enormous amount of effort into designing the program. All of that now is moving into the execution phase.
The devil's in the details, from the staff that's running the program, to the academic design of the program, to the way the building is structured, to the building of the building.
Imagine arriving here in July 2016, and you're going to walk into a fantastic physical space that is designed from bottom up to help enhance the academic and extracurricular experience.
The building is all about interaction between students. We begin, first of all, by a big open courtyard coming in from the street, which brings everybody together to one entrance. And then inside that, we have a big forum space. There are big, wide staircases. You walk up and you might meet someone coming down, and you stop and say, hey, what are you doing? Are you free for lunch? So stairs encourage interaction as well.
From scratch, we put together a curriculum with inputs from scholars and business leaders, political leaders all over the world. We ask the fundamental question, that is, what kind of leaders we want? What kind of education we will provide to these leaders of the 21st century of the world?
I think the Schwarzman program will be successful because it combines a number of important elements in educating people about China. One is a really strong and rigorous academic program. Second, exposure to really great leaders from different walks of life in China. And then taking students all around China to see the country, to understand the richness and variety of both China's strengths and its problems.
One of the truly important things about the Schwarzman Scholars isn't just what you learn. It's really about forming global relationships that can be utilized and activated over a lifetime.
Schwarzman Scholars are risk takers. They're people who see how the world is changing and are willing to do something different to be part of that change and to even shape that change.
10, 15, 20 years from now, there will be a meeting of government officials. And at that table, there will be Schwarzman Scholars, and they will know each other in that way. They will make a difference to their countries, and they'll make a difference to the world.
1 year spent doing something truly unique in your life will reset the way you look at things. It won't threaten your path to success. It will enhance it. And you'll become a broader, more interesting, more consequential person who sees a different world than the one you grew up in.
Now it's time to turn our attention to the very enticing silent auction, which you may have noticed over at the table on the other side of the room there on my left. We have some really fabulous items that you will want to bid on and be generous, because if you're generous, you might actually win one of them. And you can also make a significant statement about your support to the American Australian Education Fund and the meaningful cause that has brought all of us here tonight. There are lots of great items, but let me highlight two of them for you that are particularly special. There's 2 round-trip business class tickets to Australia, JFK to Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane, and you'll travel in style on Qantas Airlines, sleeping comfortably in a fully flat bed, which is essential if you're flying to Australia, and dining on delicious cuisine along the way. So go look at that one and consider placing a bid on the silent auction. The other highlight item tonight is a luxurious European river cruise on the only 5-star luxury river cruise line called Scenic Cruises. And you get a choice of any 8-day cruise for 2 on the Rhine, the Danube, or the main rivers. It's the ultimate luxury experience in a fully inclusive environment where it's all part of the package with your winning bid. So I encourage you to go over there and take a look at those great items before it closes. You want to get your bid in tonight. So now we're going to open the education segment of this evening by welcoming our 2014 fellows to the stage here. We've talked so much about research and education, and this is truly the highlight of the evening. Over 200 American and Australian students have received a total of $5.5 million for their research and study from the American Australian Association's Education Fund, which is pretty extraordinary. So let's give them a round of applause.
And just before we do our fellows, we're going to take a quick break to serve the entree.
All right, when we come back, we will introduce our fellows to all of you. Enjoy your dinner.